Welcome to Triple C Stories. Get ready for thrilling African folktales filled with wisdom, adventure, and unforgettable lessons. Don't just watch, like, share, and subscribe to keep these stories alive.
The morning light filtered weakly through the curtains as Elena stirred a pot of soup, the scent of simmering spices filling the kitchen, though she felt none of its warmth. Her fingers trembled as she added too much salt, knowing Daniel wouldn't notice. He barely tasted his food anymore. Life had become a loop of silent chores. Cooking, cleaning, waiting, all under the oppressive weight of unspoken failure. At the dining table, Daniel sat scrolling blankly through his phone, distant and mute, the silence between them thick with blame. The memory of Margaret's cruel words from their last visit haunted her. Some women just aren't meant to be mothers. Those words had clung to her like a curse, echoing through their small home. Daniel hadn't defended her, he never did, hiding behind the excuse that silence was easier, but to Elena, his quiet had begun to feel like betrayal. She remembered the sharp edge in Margaret's voice, how Daniel had looked away, and how the accusation had settled in Elena's bones. The doctors had told her she was healthy, but nothing changed. Month after month of hope crumbled into disappointment, and the growing distance in her marriage hurt almost as much as the emptiness inside her. She stirred the soup again, just to keep her hands busy, while everything else inside her unraveled in silence. That evening, Elena stood hesitating outside their bedroom, her hand hovering over the door handle. Daniel had locked himself away after dinner, claiming he was tired, like he always was lately. She knocked gently, but when he didn't respond, she pushed the door open to find him on the bed, eyes half closed, phone glowing in his hand. Her voice was soft, asking if they could talk, but he deflected, irritated. When she pressed him about trying again, another doctor, a different approach, Daniel snapped, insisting they had already tried everything and maybe it just wasn't meant to be. His resignation hit her like ice, but she held back the storm inside and quietly left, heart aching. The next evening, they arrived at Margaret's grand impersonal home, its marble floors and cold perfection only adding to Elena's sense of unease. Margaret greeted her like a flaw to be tolerated, and the evening crawled by in a haze of fake smiles and veiled judgment. Slipping away to the kitchen, Elena overheard Janet's cruel words, questioning why Daniel stayed with her, and Margaret's approving chuckle, suggesting Elena didn't know her place. Stung, humiliated, and barely holding it together, Elena set her trembling glass down and fled the room, searching the crowd for Daniel. But he was laughing with friends, oblivious, unbothered. In that instant, something within her shattered. Years of silent endurance crumbling under the weight of isolation, shame, and betrayal. She had borne it all alone, and Daniel had let her. And in that clarity, one painful truth echoed in her chest: I can't keep doing this. The air in the house had turned colder over the months, a chill that no sunlight could warm. Elena sat quietly by the window, tracing the rim of an empty teacup, lost in thoughts far from the narrow beams of morning light. For over 2 years, she and Daniel had tried for a child, a journey marked by hope, anxiety, and the relentless sting of disappointment. In the beginning, Daniel had offered comfort and reassurance, but slowly, his warmth faded. His smile grew hollow, his touch distant, and silence settled between them like a wall. Whenever Elena tried to talk about what they'd do if things didn't change, Daniel would deflect, insisting that it would all work out, eventually. But how long could she keep waiting? Tension grew with every failed conversation, each one widening the emotional gap between them. She tiptoed around him, careful not to stir another quiet storm. One night, after another stiff dinner at his mother's house, she broached the topic again. We can see another doctor, she offered gently, but Daniel's sharp, I said no, cut through the room like glass. Even when she pleaded, his face hardened, and he walked out. That night, Elena lay awake, staring at the ceiling, drowning in the loneliness of a battle she was fighting alone. Buried under the weight of unspoken fears, unanswered questions, and a love she felt slipping away. The breaking point came on an afternoon when Elena visited her longtime friend Cynthia, her warm presence a rare comfort. Over tea, Elena confessed her growing fears, Daniel's deepening coldness, the unbearable whispers, and her growing uncertainty. Cynthia listened carefully, her concern clear. "Maybe he's not telling you something," she said gently. The words echoed in Elena's mind long after she returned home. That night, while Daniel slept, she stared at the ceiling, haunted by the possibility that he was hiding something. The next afternoon, sunlight warmed Daniel's study, his private sanctuary, rich with the scent of old books and polished wood. Elena, tidying absent-mindedly to distract herself, hesitated at the drawers of his desk. She knew she shouldn't pry, but an unfamiliar restlessness pushed her on. When she opened the bottom drawer, she found the usual clutter, papers, pens, and receipts, until her hand brushed something smooth, a sealed envelope, tucked deliberately beneath the mess. Her heart pounded. The handwriting was Daniel's. Though she knew it wasn't right, something about the secrecy made her pause, then pull it open, needing answers more than permission. The logo on the envelope was the first thing Elena saw, Brighton Fertility Clinic, and with a pounding heart, she read the contents. Severe male infertility, low sperm count, high probability of infertility. Her hands shook as the truth hit her like a thunderclap. Daniel had known all along. He had let her carry the blame, suffer the cruel whispers, and endure Margaret's cutting remarks in silence. Reeling, Elena staggered from the desk, the paper clutched tight in her trembling hands, memories flooding back, the humiliation, the pitying looks, the nights of self-blame. She collapsed into the armchair, tears streaming down her face, consumed by betrayal. When Daniel returned hours later, she sat at the table, the envelope laid bare before him. Their eyes met, and in that instant he knew. "Elena," he began, but she cut him off sharply. "Don't say a word." Her voice trembled with fury. "How could you let me believe it was my fault? Let your family tear me apart." Daniel stepped closer, guilt etched on his face. "I was scared. I thought you'd leave me," he confessed, but the words only deepened the wound. "You let me suffer," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You let them call me barren. And you said nothing." Daniel's voice trembled as he confessed the truth, sinking into a chair across from Elena. "I thought if you knew you'd leave," he whispered, reaching for her, but she recoiled. "You already lost me," she said, her voice cold. His desperation spilled out, apologies, promises, even the word adoption, something she had once yearned for. But now, it felt empty, too late to matter. That night, while Daniel slept, Elena sat alone in the living room, eyes flicking toward the half-packed suitcase by the door. Memories flooded her, laughter, quiet moments, love once shared, all now tainted by betrayal and silence. As dawn broke, Elena stood at the threshold, suitcase in hand. She glanced once toward the bedroom, her heart wavering, but the years of pain won out. Without a word, she stepped outside into the cold morning air, her chest aching but light. It wasn't just escape, it was liberation. For the first time in years, Elena was choosing herself. The night air was cold as Elena stepped outside, her suitcase dragging unevenly over the gravel path. At the gate, she paused and looked back one last time. Warm light spilled from the windows of the house where she had once imagined raising children and growing old with Daniel, dreams now distant and crumbling like smoke. Her chest tightened as she turned away, Daniel's betrayal lingering like a shadow. Yet beneath the pain flickered something fragile. Hope. Hope that somewhere ahead, love might be honest, and she could rebuild her life. With that, she took her first step into the unknown. Hours later, Elena sat in Ruth's dim living room, her fingers curled tightly around an untouched cup of tea. The silence pressed in, broken only by the slow tick of the clock. Her thoughts looped back to Daniel's face, that flash of panic as she closed the door behind her. She hadn't taken anything of his, but what she carried was more valuable: her dignity, her self-respect, her sanity. With her overnight bag clutched like a lifeline, Elena didn't know where she was headed, only that she was never going back. "Are you sure about this?" Ruth finally asked, her voice low and cautious. She had given Elena space since she arrived, watching silently until Elena was ready. Elena's hands trembled as she set her tea down and whispered, "I don't know, but I couldn't stay. Not after everything." Ruth reached out and placed a steady hand over hers. "Whatever you decide, you don't have to figure it out tonight," she said gently. Elena nodded, the weight of her reality pressing down hard, the years of being called barren, worthless, a failure. And all the while, Daniel had known the truth. He had let his family's insults cut her down, had watched in silence as she endured whispers, judgment, and cruel glances. "I can't believe he let me suffer like that," Elena said, her voice breaking. "He was supposed to protect me. I thought he loved me." Ruth's expression hardened. "That's not love," she said, voice firm. Elena knew it, but the pain lingered. Part of her still loved the man who once held her through grief and whispered promises in the dark, and that made the betrayal even more unbearable. "He's going to come looking for you," Ruth warned quietly. "And when he does, don't let him guilt you into going back." Elena lay awake on Ruth's couch long after Ruth had gone to bed, staring at the ceiling, her thoughts a whirlwind. She imagined Daniel waking to find her side of the bed empty, panic rising as he searched the house, calling her name. Would he care? The thought unsettled her. Memories of their marriage surged like a tide, overwhelming her. Meanwhile, as dawn barely cracked the sky, Daniel was already out the door, breath sharp in the morning cold. He had searched every room in the house, the bed, the kitchen, the backyard, but she was gone. Her suitcase, her shoes, her presents, vanished. Desperation gripped him as he drove empty streets, heading straight to Ruth's home. When he knocked, Ruth barked from inside, "It's too early for visitors." But Daniel didn't budge. "Please," he begged. "I just need to know if she's safe." Ruth opened the door slightly, her expression hard. "She doesn't want to see you," Daniel pleaded, his voice cracking. "I need to explain." But Ruth didn't waver. "You should have done that years ago." With a final, "She's safe." "That's all you need to know." Ruth shut the door, leaving Daniel on the porch, stunned. Elena had always stayed, no matter what. But now she was truly gone, and for the first time, Daniel felt what it meant to be alone. Daniel sat alone in the dark living room, silence pressing in like a suffocating weight. He kept replaying the argument, Elena's voice trembling with fury, her eyes filled with betrayal when he finally admitted the truth. He had always feared this day, but deep down, he had foolishly hoped it would never come. Now he saw clearly how he had let Margaret's cruel words slice through Elena, how Mark had mocked her, and how he had stood by in silence, too afraid to speak up or face the truth. The shame crushed him. He had told himself he was protecting her, but he now knew he'd only ever protected himself. And now she was gone. Across town, Elena sat by Ruth's window, watching the rain streak down the glass. She knew Daniel would come. Part of her even wanted him to finally admit he was wrong, to say he was sorry. But deep down, she knew it wouldn't be enough. No apology could undo the years of pain and silence. She had given Daniel everything, her heart, her hope, and now, all she had left was the truth. Love was not enough. A tear slipped down her cheek as she silently accepted what she had denied for years. No matter how much she had endured, she couldn't go back. Not this time. That night, Elena lay awake in Ruth's spare bedroom, replaying Daniel's apology over and over. She had expected tears and regret, but not how deeply his words would cut. Once, she had believed their love could withstand anything. But that belief had eroded, worn down by Margaret's cruelty, Mark's smugness, and Daniel's silence, all while she shouldered the blame alone. The betrayal wasn't just the secret. It was the years she endured alone. By morning, Ruth found her by the window, eyes shadowed by sleeplessness. "He's not your responsibility anymore," Ruth said gently. Elena wanted to believe that, but uncertainty still clung to her like fog. Days later, Daniel returned. He didn't knock, just stood at the gate, hollow and haunted. Elena found him there. "I'm not here to beg," he said. "I just wanted to tell you. I told them. Margaret, Mark, everyone." Elena's breath hitched. "You told them." Daniel gave a bitter smile. Margaret cried. "Mark looked at me like I was weak. But I didn't do it for them. I did it because I couldn't live with myself anymore." His voice cracked. "I know I've lost you. But I had to stop pretending." In the quiet morning air, they stood suspended in unspoken grief and finality. "I'm sorry," he said, and this time she believed him. As she watched him walk away, his frame small and broken, Ruth's house felt quieter than before, but not as heavy. This silence carried closure. The knock on Ruth's door came late in the evening, and Elena knew it was Daniel before Ruth even answered. Her heart lurched as he stepped inside, hollow-eyed, his voice trembling with desperation. "I know I hurt you," he began, pleading. "I was scared you'd leave." Elena's voice cracked. "So you let me suffer?" she asked. "You let me believe it was my fault, while your mother tore me down?" Daniel's guilt was etched across his face. "I thought I could fix it. I thought if I gave you something else, you wouldn't leave. I'll adopt. I'll cut off my mother. Just don't leave me." Elena watched him unravel, her chest aching. "It's not that simple," she said. "You broke something in me I can't fix." Daniel collapsed into sobs, whispering, "But I love you." Tears welled in Elena's eyes. "Love doesn't survive on lies," she said. "I loved a man I didn't really know, and I can't do that anymore." With each step away, the pain tore at her, but she didn't look back. Ruth's arms wrapped around her as Daniel's sobs echoed behind. Outside, the night air bit at her skin, but she felt the first stirrings of something unfamiliar: freedom. The burden she'd carried for years had finally lifted, and she refused to carry it again. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe to Triple C Stories. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section and stay tuned for more exciting stories.